Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. And now, celebrating 15 years of broadcasting, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Whether you're tuning in on the radio dial, we welcome you all back to our program. Also, those tuning in through online affiliates around the world, including our iHeartRadio family. We're glad you all could join us as well. I think we all know what it's like to be able to go through a challenge or situation that threatens to destroy us, whether we're talking about illness, assault, or abuse. Our next guest has dealt with all three of those. We're excited to welcome Tamara Charles to our program today. She's chronicled her journey in the book, Unbroken, Still I Smile. We'll talk to Tamara not only about the reflection on her life, but also what it's been like for her to think about the things she's been able to overcome, as well as, of course, the example she is to others. Tamara, hello to you, and welcome to the program.
Hello. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Oh, the pleasure is definitely on mine, Tamara. Well, you've had a busy week already. I mean, you're kind of recovering from recently being at the Essence Fest. First of all, let's talk about that experience, Tamara. What was it like for you to be out there with your book Unbroken and to be able to see the response to it?
Well, this was my second year doing a book signing, and both years have been very successful for me. So it was a really great experience to have gone, to have experience, and just the love and support that you see from people who support your my book, and just talking to different women when they ask me questions, what is my book about, and I tell them, and they just their response back to me saying how they they encourage me to keep pushing, to never give up. Is just it's a blessing from the sky. So I am very humbled to have been able to be a part of the Essence.
Right. Well, I think, I'm glad you mentioned that about what the women that you met had to say, Tamara. When I was reading the book, there are a couple of things that came to mind. I think a lot of times we see individuals and we don't really fully know the whole story, right? I mean, sometimes we see people that seem to be so well put together, and we can't imagine them going through anything. And then, of course, we read stories like we have this year, even of individuals like Anthony Bourdain and others who have taken their lives, and people say, I thought they had everything together. And then we look at other people who seem to have troubled lives, and we don't know what led to that. You kind of take us through in your book several situations that took place in your life: assault, abuse, and then, of course, dealing with an illness, which we'll talk more about. What do you think has helped you to keep standing? Because as I mentioned in my introduction, Tamara, some people just go through one aspect of what you've dealt with, and it breaks them. What is it do you think that keeps you smiling?
My children. My children keeps me going, keeps me smiling. They're the one that keeps me from not giving up. Because there was plenty of times I wanted to give up, but when I look at my children and being a single mom who has been raising 4 children, I have 2 in college. They're twins. They'll be graduating next year. I don't want to not see my twins graduate from college next year. I didn't want to see them going living going through life without their mother, especially their father. Their father was there, but he wasn't there. So I had to be that mother to say enough was enough, and to see my children, see my children who have witnessed, some of the abuse that I went through. I couldn't continue, letting them all go through all that. So I had to make a decision whether it was going to be, me being there for them, watching them grow and being the mother that, to continue being the mother, or I was going to be, I was going to be dead. And I chose to be there for my children because I want to see them prosper. I want to see them, live. I want to see them graduate from college, get married. I want to see, see them giving me my first grandbaby. So I had to make a decision because for my children.
Right. And I think that, that is the other thing, to have something to be able to live for. You do, as I mentioned in the book, Tamara, as you kind of take us through, different aspects of what you've gone through. I want to focus a little bit about the abuse that you suffered. And I think one of the things that you've done in the book is kind of give red flags out there of individuals, who, I think, can read this and say, wow, okay, this is a sign for me. Like one of the things that you mentioned is an abuser's favorite saying is "you provoked me," and then of course isolation. You talked about how you experienced that, and what you were dealing with even while you were pregnant. Is that what you also hope to not only be able to share your story, Tamara, but also to help other women realize, okay, if you're seeing this pattern in your life, you need to be making steps to get out of the situation?
Correct. I had a sexual assault at the age of 6 years old, back in my home country in Haiti. So when I came, my parents had came to America before me and my brothers and sisters did. So for a whole year they were gone. They was here in America. So we had stayed with my aunt and a friend of the family. So between my mother's friends and my mother's younger sister, who was, taking care of us while my parents were here in America to save money and, send for a visa for us, I was sexually assaulted for the whole year by friends of the family. He used to come pick us up, help school, bring us to school and, help my family with us. During the time he was helping us, he was sexually assaulting me. All I can remember, when we would be in the house, he would make my brothers and sisters go outside to play while I went to school I went to a Catholic school, so all we had to wear was like a skirt for a uniform. Mm-hmm. So I remember he would have me sit on his lap and try to, stick his, penis inside me. And I remember it would hurt, and I used to cry. And he would just grab my face and, and just touch me and say, don't cry and don't tell nobody, and trying to caress my face. And I still this day, I still remember being, 40 years old. I still remembered. I can feel the touch. I can hear him say it. I can see his face. So for the whole year, I've experienced. I came to America. My parents, they were very strict with us. So I got here when I was 7 years old. From Haiti to Brooklyn, New York. We spent a couple of years. Then we moved to Boston, Massachusetts, where I was raised. And during my teen years, I started, I was being rebellious. I didn't want to listen to my parents, because I felt like, okay, during that year, you guys left me in Haiti. This is what was going on with me, but I couldn't tell my parents exactly what was going on. They didn't know why I was acting out. I tried to kill myself at 12 years old. I tried to, put my life away. They put me in a 14-day mental institute for evaluation, and I literally used to run away from my parents' house, and they had no idea why, my behavior was that way, and I just couldn't open up and talk about it and say it. All I can remember, being 10, 11, 12 years old is this guy telling me don't say nothing, and that just programmed in my head, like, don't say nothing. So I bounced from foster home to foster home till I was like, 14, 15 years old. I said, what, I can't do this. I'm like, I miss my brothers and sisters. I'm like, I used to wonder what if they missed me while I was in foster home. There wasn't no reason for me to be in foster home because I was so angry at my parents that I acted out. So to the point they took me out of my parents' home. And so I used to wonder, like, does my brothers and sisters miss me? What are they doing? What meal that they're eating right now while I'm in a stranger's home. They used, I had girls who used to take my clothes. Some used to pick on me, they used to fight me over my clothes. So it was just like a lot. So then I reached out to my aunt, who is my father's sister. She, decided to take me. So from there, I stayed with her for about a year. So I returned back home. And even that, I still didn't say nothing. So during my teens, I started dating my children's father when I was in high school. And it started from, high school. and like little pushes here and there, and like he didn't want me to be around his friends. It was like a group of us, a group of my friends and his friends. So it was like he was just like he didn't want me. He wanted me to also himself. He didn't want me to talk to his friends, or I don't know if he thought his friends would like me or whatever. But the situation was that I still wasn't right for his behavior. So I did see the signs, but being a teenager myself, I overlooked it. I thought in my mind, oh yeah, he likes me because he's being overprotective. He don't want his friends to talk to me, But that's not the case. Been pregnant at 19 years old, and I had my children at 20 years old. And I remember being 4 months pregnant, where he had dragged me from the third floor of his family's house all the way outside, and where he was kicking me, and all I can remember is me being in a fetus position so I can cover my stomach so he wouldn't kick the baby. The time I thought I was just having one baby, so he wouldn't kick me in the stomach. And I remember it was an elderly woman out of nowhere who came out and started to hit him with a broom, trying to have him get off me. And that happened. I ended up being in the hospital hours to hear the baby's heartbeat. They had to call for the tech specialist to come out and do the ultrasound because they couldn't hear the heartbeat. Then it was like after IV and they telling me to calm down. It took them like over 2 hours to finally hear my baby's heartbeat, and they didn't even hear only just one heartbeat or two heartbeats. That's how I found out I was having twins. So it was a bad experience, and I would have wished that on anybody to be pregnant and to be getting kicked and all over. Don't even know if your baby's going to make it alive or not at that point. So that situation, I left that situation, and I ended up a couple of years after, I ended up meeting my second children's dad, where like I got pregnant with my daughter. He didn't want me to have my daughter, and I pretended to, he brought me to the hospital thinking like I was going to have an abortion. So I pretended to act like I was going to have the abortion. So while he waited in the waiting area, I went in there, with a complaint of stomach pain. And so I can kill time in the emergency room where they can look at me. So he thought I was having the abortion, but I really wasn't. And I remember 2 months later, I ended up telling him that I didn't have the abortion. Now I'm 3.5 months pregnant. So we were coming from dinner. He stopped in the middle of the street and stopped his car, opened my car, the side of my door, and try to drag me out. And I'm holding onto the door. He goes to the driver's seat and starts driving while I'm holding onto the car door. I ended up falling out. I ended up falling because I couldn't hold on to the door any longer. And it was a lady that came out of her car who saw me and came and helped me. So that's the second domestic violence that I went. The third one, it was an ex-boyfriend. I was with him for 7 years, and we didn't have no children, but he had a lot of issues, a lot of problems that he had gone through himself that I didn't know about, and he took it out of, he took his anger out on me. So it was just like, he almost strangled me I went to the hospital 3 different occasions. Every time that I went, the doctor was like, what's going on? And I'm lying saying, okay, I got into a fight with a girl or I fell. It would be him, that would, beat me up. He would, he tried to strangle me to death. The last time, I ended up being in the hospital, he tried to strangle me to death. Well, I remember waking up in a hospital with 3 detectives in my room taking pictures of my neck. And they let me out the next day, and they went back. They let me out the next day, so they went and got him. And I remember during the week of Memorial Day weekend, and he was, put in jail. So he would call me, and me, who's naive and stupid, and was still in love, thinking that's love. I'm answering, his calls. He's calling me on a three-way, from a friend calling me on a three-way. So he's telling me he's sorry. He won't do it again. He's going to go through counseling and stuff like that. So now he gets Tuesday morning comes because Monday's a holiday, and the court system was closed. So Tuesday, his family's calling me, the weekend, and telling me what am I gonna do. And they used to be the same one to tell me, I don't care. His mother used to tell me, I don't care if that's my son. You never let no man beat on you, And
right.
I didn't say nothing for a long time. For years went by, I didn't say nothing. But when I finally said something, I finally stepped up and called. The police got involved. They wanted to, threaten me. They tried to jump me That Tuesday morning we had, there was a hearing. They tried to jump me outside the courtroom where one of his sisters got arrested. And so I went through it. I dealt with a lot of stuff. And, it was like 2 months after that, it was just like God was saying, okay, look, he did this, and you're still conversating with him. You're still seeing him. You're still doing this. Now, let me give you something else to think about. I woke up Saturday on August 31st, 2013. I woke up that Saturday morning. I went completely blind out of my right eye. And I remember he was laying next to me. And I got up, and I'm like, okay, why is that I can see out of my left eye, but my right eye is pitch black? I started to scream. I called my daughter Jasmine. I said, Jasmine, out loud. Then my daughter was in her room. She comes, in my room, and she was like, Mommy, what's wrong? I said, help me. Bring me outside. So I told her to bring me to the porch so I'm like, okay, maybe, I'm losing it right now. Maybe, So I go outside with her. She's holding my hand. I'm like, Jasmine. I said, I cannot see out of my right eye. So they quickly called the ambulance. But that time, my daughter and him ended up driving me to the hospital, to the closest hospital. So when we got to the hospital, the doctor, they examined my right eye and both eyes and to see what's going on. So at that time, the doctor was like, well, we need to send you to Mass General Hospital. Mass General Hospital is one of the biggest specialty hospital in Massachusetts. So the ambulance brought me there. And they examined me, and they was like, okay, we have to send you next door, which is the Mass Eye and Ear. It's an eye, ear, and nose specialty hospital. So from there, they was like, does anybody in your family have MS? I said, no. I'm calling my mother. I'm calling my dad. I'm calling everybody to see, okay, what, does anybody's grandmother, great-grandmother have any of that disease? So nobody in my family had it, the disease. And I remember being in the hospital for almost 2 weeks. And my abuser, out of the 2 weeks, he only came there. He only brought me there. He was there the day that I was, admitted. He didn't spend, the night with me. But out of the 2 weeks, the next time I saw him was when he came in. He brought me a plate of food and stayed for 45 minutes with his friend. And I remember laying in the hospital bed. I'm like, God, like, you're showing me all the signs. The signs are here. So what am I doing to myself? I remember covering my face with a pillow when the nurses would leave in the middle of the night. I used to yell. I used to like, God, give me a second chance. I was like, I won't go back to him. I promise you. I said, just let me get my eyesight back. I didn't get my eyesight back while I was in the hospital. It took about 2.5 to 3 months for me to get my eyesight back gradually. When I got out of the hospital, I made that decision. The promise that I made to God was like, you give me my eyesight back, and I promise you, I will never go back or look back. And I got out of the hospital, and from there I never looked back. And I decided, like, after that, I was like, you know what? This is a man that I saved from going to jail. I went in front of a judge to say he didn't do it. The judge said, ma'am, I think you need to go see, I think you need to talk to, you need to talk to legal services, because I don't think you know what you're doing right now. So I talked to legal services. It was like, well, you can be fined for perjury if you sit there and lie for him and say he didn't do it, when clearly he did it,
Right.
So from there, I just never looked. I took all that situation, different days, different nights that I was getting beat, where he would just bang my head on the floor, and then the doctors, saying that, okay, now nobody in your family have it. It could be environmental. Mental means like, okay, being in a stressful relationship. It could be like, just anything environmental. So for me, when I found out, okay, it was environmental, I didn't know in the back of my mind it was because of that relationship, the unhealthy relationships that I was in. And I remember getting my head banged against our bedroom walls. I remember getting my head banged against our living room floor, the hardwood floor. So the MS is in my brain. So all I can think about was, God, give me a second chance. Let me get my eyesight back, and I will do the right thing. I will never look back. And from there, I got my eyesight back, and I never looked back. I started to be the voice for the voiceless, because I was once one of those women who couldn't break their silence. So I felt like God was giving me a second chance at life itself to be the voice for the voiceless. So I started speaking, and I moved from Boston. With my children, I left everything. All I took was my kids' clothes and my clothes, and I didn't have no family here, and a new state with no family and just my children. And I started making a living for. I moved here, and I started to started being an advocate for domestic violence victims. And now,
right,
like later, I was like, I want to write a book. I want to share my story. I want to tell my testimony. I want to help other women who are going through what I had gone through, and help encourage them and let them know there is help out there. They're not alone, because when I was going through my situation, I didn't have the help. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have nobody to talk to without opening up, thinking like, I'm gonna be judged. I'm gonna be laughed at. And
right.
People back in my school, what I was going through, they would talk about me. They would, So I felt like I wasn't gonna get the help, the resources that staying in Boston than I do here now in Georgia. And that was the best move for me I could have done for me and my children. So I want to, inspire. My book, Unbroken Till I Smile, the title came out of nowhere. I was just like in my room one morning. I was like, God, I want to write a book. What's the title? And all I can think about was my story, my life, everything that I had gone through, from sexual assault at 6 years old, 3 domestic violence relationships, and now living as a multiple sclerosis warrior. I said, you know what? I'm unbroken, but I'm still smiling. So that's how the book came about. So I said, God, this is it. I wrote that book in 30 days, in a month. And when the book came out on March 22nd of last year, it made the bestsellers list on Amazon within 24 hours. I said, God, this is all your work. This is you. This is all you're doing right now, because God is the reason why I'm still here today, because I was a mentalist, Right. This man almost took my life. So I am blessed to be here, to be the voice for the voiceless, and to encourage other women that they're not alone. There are help out there. There's resources now. You don't got to feel ashamed. You don't got to be ashamed to tell your story, because when you tell your story, you don't know, somebody else might be going through what you're going through, and you might save a life. You might save a life. You might
right.
help a woman or a mother, a sister, or a child, or child from going through what you have gone through. So, and this is where I'm at today, and it just made me, I just want to inspire, women and men, because men go through it too. Men,
right.
A lot of men
exactly.
That gone through domestic. So it's not just women who go through domestic violence. Men go through domestic violence too. So I just want to encourage, if you see the signs early in the relationship, please do not, think like, okay, you can change him or you can change her. There's no change, because the devil is inside them. Like, you don't know what this person had gone through. And it's a good thing to learn the person's background from childhood. Not just, okay, you meet the person, okay, your boyfriend and girlfriend in like 2 weeks or a week or 2 days. No, learn their background, learn their family, learn what kind of background they come from, what kind of family they come from, because a lot of that plays a big part of knowing the person that you are dealing with. So this is where I'm at today.
Yeah. And it's so much, Tamara, that people can be able to take away from it. Again, the book is called Unbroken, Still I Smile. It's available now through our friends at Amazon.com. You can get it there in print or, of course, the Kindle edition. Tamara, let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you?
They can stay connected with me. I am on Facebook as Tamara Charles. I am on Instagram as Tamara Charles _ and Twitter is author Tamara C. And you can reach me via email. It's sistersincharge, Inc. #1 @gmail.com. My website is sistersincharge.inc.org.
All right, sistersincharge.inc.com. So make sure you're staying connected with her. Tamara, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to our next conversation together.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. If you all came in late, you missed part of the conversation with Tamara. Don't worry. Thanks to our online friends, you all can catch the replay right after we go off the air. The link is already available through our social media sites. So head over to Facebook.com/Cyrus Webb or go to Twitter.com/Cyrus Webb. If you click on the link there, you can listen to the show completely for free and share with your friends from there as well. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today. Make it a great day.